From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 things that make us go
wow.
That's it. That's right. James St. James, Blake Jacobs, and myself, Fenton Bailey. We're all here and we do our usual thing of counting down the top 10 things. You know, this week is a special edition. It's the COVID-versary. It's the first anniversary of us all being in lockdown. Who knew that?
Is this something we should be celebrating? Is this something we should be having cakes and balloons and woohoo?
It's a milestone, right? It is a milestone. In some respects, it feels like 10 years. In other respects, it feels like a week. I don't have no accounting for it. It's such a bizarre
I don't have that week feeling. To me, it's been exactly 10 years. It has been, it feels like a long time. It has been 10 years to the day since the last time I was in the building for work. It's very strange that I've lost touch with everybody. I don't even remember anyone's name anymore. Who are you? Who the hell are you?
Who am I? I often face this existential question myself at like 3 a.m. in the morning. I wake up, who am I?
I often think at 3 a.m. I wake up thinking about you too and say, who the hell does he think he is?
You wake up thinking, how dare you? Well, let's launch into the countdown of top 10 things this week that made us go, wow. Number 10. Oh, it's me.
Number 10.
H&M. As Ru said, I don't want to see any fucking H&M, but this was the week we saw plenty of Harry and Meghan, the Oprah interview. James, did you watch it?
Well, I was thinking that we should probably just do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 about Harry and Meghan because there is just so much to unpack here.
I agree. Let's see how we go. I mean, I know that like a lot of the details have been well recapped already, you know, like the color of the skin of the baby and the fact that the baby doesn't have a title and security protection and her suicidalness. But I thought one of the things that really popped out for me was when she said that when she was trying to describe to people what it's like becoming a princess and being in the palace. I mean, just as a quick aside, I'm sure I'm not alone in being highly skeptical of the fact that she did not Google Prince Harry or the royal family or but anyway, leaving that aside, you know, she said, you know, she'd been in the palace. She hadn't left the house in 4 months and she had surrendered her driver's license, her passport, her keys. And she said it was like being in lockdown, which I think some people took great offense to. Like, how can you say that being a princess in a palace is like being in lockdown? But I thought it was a very...
Right. I think that's very naive. It's very naive if you think that being a princess is just a walk in the park and every day is nothing but walking around getting free gifts and having people curtsy to you.
Exactly. I mean, years ago, we made a series about the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, and it quickly, you know, any idea that it's a romantic, idyllic lifestyle, being in the royal family, you quickly get disabused of that. It is kind of like a shit show. And I thought Oprah was a bit disingenuous saying, oh, but you're a princess. You can go anywhere you want, or nobody tells the queen what to do. And I thought that was faux naivety on her part because I think she knows herself.
Part of her job is to be every man and to ask the questions that she thinks her audience is probably wanting to know. But we know that Oprah knows better. Is one of the most famous people in the world. She obviously knows better. What I'm interested in, Fenton, with you is the very sharp divide that I see online between the Brits and the Americans. And the Americans seem to fall in line behind Harry and Meghan and say, yes, we understand what you did was for your family. We love you for this. You know, we understand how horrible they can be, the royals. And then on the British side, even anti-monarchists are talking about just what horrors Harry and Meghan are and what terrible people they are and how dare they leave the firm and how dare they abandon their duty and how dare they do that to the queen and blah, blah, blah. And I want to know, as a former Brit and now the most American person I know, where you fall on that.
I fall all over the place. It's as uncomfortable for me as the Woody Allen Mia Farrow series. I'm just like, I don't know which side I'm on, and it doesn't feel. I just don't know that I should be watching this. It feels like a sort of not unsavory, but just you feel you're eavesdropping on a family squabble, and you just feel a little like not dirty, but just I just feel uncomfortable. I mean, the Brits do definitely, they've all fallen in line against that let's hate on Meghan thing.
Yeah,
which is very so. And I think the sort of the great mystery here is Brits do tend to, they're cynical about the monarchy, they're anti-monarchy, they're all these things. They can be liberal, they can be conservative, but then everybody just seems to swoon before the Queen. And I think if you watch The Crown, it's the same thing. I don't think Peter Morgan, who wrote or created The Crown, is pro-monarchy, but there's this sort of swoon factor about the Queen herself. And mixed in with that stoic personality is this sort of idea that there's this system or this institution that withstands all the tests of time, and somehow we owe it loyalty. It's a bizarre sort of paradox, and it's slightly inexplicable to me.
But why it has to be race when it comes to Meghan, because the way they fawn over Kate is so different. They show I've seen side by side articles where Kate eats avocado toast, and why amazing is that? And then Meghan has avocado toast, and she's decimating the avocado industry.
I love that headline. Well, I didn't love it, but in I think it was in the Express, it said the pregnant Duchess of Sussex is wolfing down a fruit linked to water shortages, illegal deforestation, and all-round general environmental devastation.
But when she does it, it's like she's a trendy. She loves her avocado toast. Isn't she one of us? It just makes no sense. The difference, the way that she is treated. It has to be racism. It just there can be no other.
I think racism is a part of it, but I don't think it's the whole story. And the other thing I think sort of Oprah didn't completely get, and maybe she was just being a provocateur, is the fact that really the royal family doesn't really have any power. And there was an article in the Irish Times that really explained it. They say the contemporary royals have no real power. They serve entirely to enshrine classicism in the British non-constitution. They live in high luxury and low autonomy, cosplaying as their ancestors, and are the subject of constant psychosocial projection from people mourning the loss of empire. And I think that's just brilliant and says it all.
Basically, they're nothing more than celebrities, and no celebrity has any real power. So they are just the uber celebrity who has absolutely no power any more than Tom Cruise has power or Gwyneth Paltrow has real power anywhere.
All right. Well, I think that's completely true. And in fact, this article says that what's going on here is a union between the royal family and Californian celebrity. And she says, the writer says, only one of those things has a future, and it's the one with the Netflix deal. And, as we know, Harry and Meghan have the Netflix deal. And even though The Crown is on Netflix and is about the royal family, they don't have a Netflix deal. So basically they're saying, royal family, Harry and Meghan,
Well, we have a lot more to discuss on this.
Let's move on to number 9. Let's move on to number 9.
Number 9.
So this person is kind of like the UK version of a Bill O'Reilly here in the US, I guess.
Or a Sean Hannity, definitely.
Or, Rush Limbaugh. Piers Morgan. You guys saw the people on the planet, just a loathsome man. He just has a face that you want to punch. He does. You guys saw he is a host of Good Morning Britain, and apparently the night that Meghan met Harry, Meghan was out with Piers Morgan, and then after she met Harry, she never took his calls anymore, allegedly, or whatever.
Here's the thing about Piers Morgan. There isn't a single story that he doesn't put himself right at the center of. He was probably at 9/11 in the World Trade Center. He's also actually weirdly quite infamous in America because he spectacularly failed when he took over Larry King's spot on CNN. And I suppose the other thing he's known for is winning the Celebrity Apprentice. I mean, is that anything to be proud of? You know, winning a contest hosted by a corrupt president and a failed businessman.
You know, he's very famously in tight with Trump, and he overseas, he is Trump's biggest supporter, I think, in the UK. And he famously just churned out column after column in the Daily Mail every day about pro-Trump. And he did the same thing. He did 23 articles last week about Meghan Markle. He's done something like over 100. He's done hundreds and hundreds of articles that just bash Meghan Markle over the last couple of years.
And all allegedly because she shunned him and quit taking his calls. That's the only reason.
Believe for 1 second that Meghan Markle went on a date with him, I think he is absolutely out of his mind. She probably saw him there and went over and said hello, and he spun that into they were going to be engaged. Because anyway,
well, he was on his show, Good Morning Britain, and he's always railing against Meghan, as you know. The weatherman, Alex Beresford, actually took him to task and went in and was like, "You're always coming on."
Well, it's your problem, dude. We know that she blew you off. And can I just say that Alex Beresford is hot. Johnny, yes. Just talk. You know, we have our
gays love him. Here. I mean, my God, his Instagram. He has 2 Instagram accounts. One is a sort of fitness thing, and just lots of thirsty pictures. I'm sure, Jen, you've been studying.
Talk about fit. I mean, my God.
And Alex is mixed race, and he called Piers out. And Piers, you know, as with all bullies and cowards, is someone who can dish it out but can't take it. So he gets up and storms off.
And then apparently quits, but now it's coming out that he might have been fired because there were like 41,000 complaints against Piers Morgan for that broadcast in the UK. And apparently Meghan Markle was one of them, rumored.
That's hysterical. But it literally, the weather guy, Alex, went in on him, and it was literally about 35 seconds into it before Piers was like, "I can't do this. I've had enough." And he stomped off. And you wonder how much of it was performative, because he knew that by doing that it would go viral, and he ended up taking over Mary and Meghan as the story of the day. Yeah.
Oh, that's another function of Piers as professional parasite, is to jump on any story and use it to leverage his own fame and notoriety.
Well, and I just saw this is spilled over to American talk show TV, because Sharon Osbourne is on The Talk and is a big Piers Morgan supporter.
Sharon Osbourne is unfortunately incredibly right-wing and incredibly conservative, and you want to love her because we all had such fond memories of, you know, the Osbourne show and everything, and thinking that she was such a lovely mom. But her politics are just...
Well, she and co-host Cheryl Underwood almost came to blows on The Talk, so it'll be interesting.
It's very Elizabeth Hasselbeckian in her politics.
It's interesting how this has got everybody sort of riled up, taking a side, you know, getting all sort of hot and bothered under the collar.
And I maintain that Harry, you know, is someone who, you know, had to walk behind his mother's coffin. He was forced to do that in front of the entire world. He watched his mother be, you know, hounded by the press. His mother, you know, died because of the press. And I am just firmly in belief that he should be, you know, he should have the guards. And I think the right thing by getting his family out.
Well, hopefully Piers Morgan will go back under the rock that he came from.
He's still railing on. He still has his Daily Mail pulpit, and it'll be I believe any second now he's going to get another TV show. People,
I just want to give on this topic the last word to Jodie Harsh, who tweeted, Piers Morgan's pronouns are was and were. Which I thought was very fitting. Okay, number 8, James. What are we talking about at number 8?
Number 8.
Well, we're still talking about Harry and Meghan because there is just so much. I did want to just very quickly. I wanted to say that the Queen broke her silence. Remember, she famously does not like to comment on real world situations. She thinks it's beneath the dignity of the palace. It takes a lot to get her to talk. Remember when she spoke about COVID last year, it was the first time in like 40 years that she had spoken when it wasn't Christmas. She does her annual Christmas, thing. But for her to actually break down, it was like World War II, the last time she actually spoke to the people. But she did come out and say, and she had a quote, and it was very short and concise and to the point, and I'm going to read it very quickly. She said, "To learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan, the whole family is saddened by that. The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. And while recollections may vary," which is a very pointed thing to say, they're being taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately." And then she also said Meghan and Harry will always be much loved family members. And that was it. And it's very much sort of a non-comment. It's like, we understand that some people think there are problems. It may vary who thinks what, and we'll deal with it privately. And so we'll never really get a satisfying answer as to who the racist was, which my money is on Charles.
I think or that cousin Michael or whatever who wore the brooch.
Michael of Kent, who always wears the little blackamoor robe. I don't think she has the power.
There's this distinction you have to make between the members of the family and the firm or the institution that they're a part of. And I think there are these very powerful advisors or, lifetime civil servants who really are the ones. I would imagine it was one of those, because the royal family, the firm side of the royal family is forever living in fear of the narrative, because basically they have no more power. They are sort of decorative. They know that they're on very thin ice.
They're Stephen Miller and Kellyanne Conway's type people.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Exactly. Yes, I believe that is the case. Yes.
The little Jared Kushner types.
Yes.
Lurking in the background.
The Kushner's like, oh, anyway. All right, well, let's take a break. I have to tell you, new episodes. Well, I don't have to. I'm excited to tell you. I urge you to watch new episodes of the T.S. Madison Experience, starring T.S. Madison, Thursdays, 10 p.m. on WeTV. And you can catch up on past episodes on the WeTV app. Okay, we're going to take a break. Blake, have you got a question?
Of course I do. So NRIX, the Washington-based traffic technology and data company, has released its 2020 Global Traffic Scorecard.
I'm already confused.
Okay. On average, American drivers lost 26 hours stuck in traffic in 2020, which is way down. So how many hours in 2019 do you think the average American spent stuck in traffic?
Oh. Wow.
Right. Interesting question in this time of the pandemic. We'll be right back after the break. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey, welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton, co-founder of World of Wonder, here with James St. James, editor of the Wow Report, and Blake, our producer, standing in for Tom Campbell, who is in foreign lands on mystery secret assignment.
Forever, from what I gather. I don't think we'll ever see him again.
So, what was the question?
So this company called NRIX, they released their 2020 Global Traffic Scorecard. And in 2020, the year of the pandemic, the average American spent 26 hours stuck in traffic, which is way down from previous years.
I can't even imagine being. There was no traffic. I didn't go anywhere. 20 hours seems long to me. But anyway, keep going.
So how many hours was the average American stuck in their car in 2019?
Per week.
which was pre-pandemic, the last year
year.
before the pandemic, right?
Oh, a year. Oh, a year. Okay.
Right. And I think you, when you first said traffic, I just assumed you meant internet traffic and streaming. I didn't even think about being behind the wheel of a car. It's such an alien idea. I'm going to guess if it was 26 hours, I'm going to say 80 or 90, maybe even 100.
I'm going to say 72.
Fenton, you were just over. It was 99 hours.
Wow.
In
Wow.
2019, the average American spent 99 hours stuck in traffic.
I'll be ding dong. I had no idea.
Let's carry on counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow this week. At number 7, we have, back by popular demand, the Randy surprise.
Number 7.
This is our number 7 surprise. It's Randy, back again by popular demand. But you're becoming a bit of a diva, Randy, with your demands.
Well, first of all, thank you all for inviting me back. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful. You know, it's hard for me to fit it in because I'm so hard doing the windows, cleaning the floors, keeping this place going. Here's what I wanted to talk about very briefly this week. You all know that I have 2 kids, and one of the things I do is I try and play them lots of music that I listen to. So, you know, they're pretty good at. They have a great sort of musical history.
How long do you think this is going to last? Once they hit 13, 14, don't you think all your musical taste is going to go out the window and they're going to hate everything?
No, because I also have contemporary musical taste. I mix my old music with contemporary music and I make playlists for them. Like, you know, we know all the words to UK Hun. So Bing Bang Bong, we're totally up to speed on everything that's happening now and the past, because you can't have the present without the past. Anyway, they're big fans of Whitney, big fans of Brandy. So of course, when I saw that Cinderella was going to be on Disney Plus, I turned it into Pizza Night, Movie Night. And okay, and I just want to talk about it for a couple minutes because
it is my favorite version of Cinderella. I love that one so much. I hope you love it too.
I loved it to death. And where was I? I was asleep. It was in the 1997, I guess. I had no idea it was such an important film. It was blind casting, mixed racial mom and dad. The king and
I think it was one of the first colorblind castings that I really remember coming across, because Whoopi was the queen. The father was Jason, or the king was Jason Alexander. The prince was this hot Asian guy. I don't even know who it is. And then there's like it made no sense, but it made perfect sense for Disney at the time, and it was absolutely gorgeous.
And Bernadette Peters was the stepmother, and she's hysterical in it. I mean, I loved it. It is pretty rotten too. It's awful. It's bad in a beautiful way. But let me tell you,
the whole concept, the whole 90s, everything was purple and that weird, though everything was whooshy and the gold swirls. And it was just, I mean, really ugly to look at.
It's like shot on video or something like that. And yeah, it's definitely worth seeing. But, you know, after I watched it, then I Googled it and I learned about its significance and all that, and that there's a whole generation. You know, Todrick did some viral video with Brandy. Like, that's how it came into my consciousness. Anyway, long story long, the thing that I really started to becoming obsessed with was Whitney, like all the green screen in it, which then made me think of the Mariah Carey Christmas special and all the green screen in that, which then made me think of like, oh my God, that is the future of movies. Like, we are going to see, I think, like, there will be no sets anymore. Who needs a set? Why does, like, not just movies, like, Did Oprah really need to be with Meghan and Harry? Couldn't they have just been on green screen somewhere? And like,
I do know that soap operas now are almost completely green screen, and no 2 people are together, and they have mannequins that they put the wigs of people so you can get the back shot of the wig, and everybody just talks to mannequins from now on. And it's been like that for 6 months.
I love it because it adds this layer of intrigue. I love it because it's like, wait, is she in the room with her? Was Mariah when she's outside the window and Billy Eichner's sitting down and she comes in and Snoot, and I don't know if you saw the Mariah Carey Christmas special. I saw it like 4 times, of course, because of my kids. But it just adds this whole dimension. And so anyway, that's all I have to share.
I think it makes you a better actor if you can, because they make out with sex dolls on soap operas now. If you can convincingly have a love scene with a sex doll on camera, then I think that makes you a better actor. I think it really shows who has the chops and who doesn't. Although I do know that when they sing "It's possible for a strange horse," it's possible that was actually, I've seen them in the studio together. There's a great clip of the two of them reacting together, and Whitney is so wonderful to Brandy. She just is the relationship.
She's like, it has to go up. She asked her to sing up, right? I saw that clip like 48 times. Like, oh my God. Yeah,
I want in my funeral. I want the gavotte to be played as everybody walks in. You know, the do 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 do. Can we play that on the way out, because that is my favorite song of all time.
I think whenever your funeral comes around, they're going to be playing that or
the Benny Hill song.
Okay, you guys, I gotta go clean the bathrooms now. All right. Good to see you.
Is that
Thank you, Randy. Bye-bye.
In the bathroom?
Yeah, right. Well, okay, moving on to number 6.
Number 6.
Well, we have an exciting bit of movie news. This week it was announced, Deadline announced, that Elizabeth Banks was directing a new movie called Cocaine Bear. And it's a true story, and it's a story that we talked about here on the WoW Report.
We did?
A couple years ago, yes, there was a bear, a stuffed bear, a taxidermied bear at a museum in Kentucky. And the story behind the bear is that it was a black bear in the forest. And one day, this was in the 1980s, it was in Kentucky, a famous drug dealer named Andrew Thornton was in a private plane going over, and there was a drug drop, and he dropped a duffel bag with 70 pounds of cocaine into the forest that another drug dealer was supposed to come and pick up. And the drug dealer was waylaid and wasn't able to get to it in time. And instead, a 175-pound black bear stumbled across the duffel bag and tore it open and ate 70 pounds of cocaine, which, we know a lot of bears at precincts who can do a lot of cocaine, but 7 pounds.
You said 175-pound bear. That is a tiny bear. That bear weighs less than I do.
Well, I don't know that you should be admitting that, darling. But I guess maybe it was a baby bear. I'm not quite sure, but maybe it was a skinny little bear. Maybe it was a bear who did a lot of cocaine usually. But 70 pounds is a lot for a bear to eat, and he died because of it. And so now they're making a movie, and the movie is being produced by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And Phil Lord and Chris Miller are the geniuses behind Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the Lego movies, the Batman Lego movies, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, 21 Jump Street. They're really sort of a dynamic duo of writing and producing. And so they're doing it. Now, to me, what I just told you, I don't know how you fill a 2-hour movie of a bear eating cocaine and dying and make it into like a horror comedy, which is what they say they're going to do. I don't know who's casting. I don't know who the bear is going to be played by.
Well, and all of their previous movies seem kind of like kids or like family friendly-ish, so it's interesting.
Well, maybe they also takes a sort of drug-fueled inspired trip, so it's a sort of cocaine with a bunch of meatballs sort of thing.
I have a feeling we will see maybe the bear's interior mind as he is tripping balls on all the cocaine. But they've also done like Last Man on Earth. They've done a lot. They do a lot of TV. They're very known for their like just out of the box thinking. So I think if anyone can do it, they can do it. It's supposed to be coming next summer, and I'm sort of excited about this one.
Well, I hope I can see it in a theater.
Well, there you go.
On cocaine.
Cocaine Bear, directed by Elizabeth Banks and was produced by Chris Miller and Phil Lord. And I did one time, and I just want to say, I met Phil Lord. I was with Darren one time, and we went to go have lunch, and we saw this hot guy sitting with a laptop, and we were just enthralled by him because he was so cute and such a hot little nerd that we went up to him and introduced ourselves and filmed him for like a daily freak show, which was something like in 2008 we were doing. And we called him the cutest boy in the world eating a hamburger. And we just filmed him eating a hamburger, and come to find out he was writing at the time, he was writing 21 Jump Street. And he told us, and we were like, it's never going to work. And we went off laughing at this person. But
all right. Okay. Keep checking the Wow Report for more information on the Cocaine Bear movie. Number 5.
Number 5.
I got this for Christmas.
oh, I
Nolan gave me
love
this.
it. I know exactly what it is.
Me too.
Well, actually, Nolan gave me this for Valentine's Day, and Randy also gave me the same sweater for Christmas. Now,
Wait, so
this
you have a
sweater-
whole bunch of them? You have a whole bunch of them? Are you going to give them
I
one?
have 2. One is a medium, which I won't fit into, and one is an extra large, which will just about, this is the extra large. But listen, so what I'm holding up here is a red jumper, as we call them in England, with lots of white sheep on it, and one of them is a black sheep. And the significance of this sweater or jumper is that it was worn by Princess Diana in the early 1980s at a couple of polo matches with Prince Charles. And it has literally just been reissued by Rowing Blazers in collaboration with Warm and Wonderful. And Warm and Wonderful was the original company led by Osborne and Muir, who designed this sheep sweater that Diana kind of made famous when she wore it. I mean, I've never really given the sweater a second thought, but I guess it is highly freighted, highly significant, because here's Diana, the rebel, the royal rebel, the black sheep of the dynasty, wearing this iconic sweater. What do you think, James?
Well, Diana really had horrible taste.
It is pretty ugly, actually. It almost qualifies as a Christmas ugly sweater.
Yeah, she was one of the frumpiest women in England. You got people talk about what a style icon she was. She really couldn't wear it. I mean, everything, those jumpers and the big prairie dresses and the hat. I mean, she was just awful. It wasn't until after she left the royal family that she was able to embrace Versace.
Says the person who super glues yarn to their head.
How you're talking about me? How dare you?
Yes.
But during the 80s, she really did have some horrible style. But this is one of the things that I absolutely love. So wear it with pride. I just saw Rob Lowe bought one. I've seen a number of celebrities showing themselves on Instagram.
I want one. I want to wear it home for Christmas next year.
Well, of course, it's very timely because a lot of people are comparing the Harry and Meghan, or basically the Meghan interview, because Harry only appears in the last bit. The Meghan interview with the Diana bombshell interview.
Well, I don't know. Did you see that they were also comparing it to the famous Wallis Simpson, Mrs. Duchess of Windsor? Because she wore the exact same hair and the exact same outfit that the Duchess of Windsor. Which who would want to compare themselves to that Nazi-loving old bitch? But apparently, Meghan sort of did copy her style a bit.
I think I do think this Harry and Meghan thing is fascinating and is going to resonate for some time. I think we're sort of right in the middle of it right now, and we can't really see how it's going to pan out. And I think it's going to be interesting.
Maybe Harry and Meghan should star in Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're busy with their Netflix deal. I did ask someone at Netflix what they're doing, and I got the answer, well, you'll just have to wait and see. So. All right, let's take a break. Blake, have you got a question for us?
I do. So it's been a year of the coronavirus shutdown. This song has just broke a record. It's been in the top 10 for an entire year. What song is it?
Oh, I think
52 weeks.
All right, okay. Let's take a break. We'll have the answer when we come back. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with James, and Blake. I just want to tell you that Wojnarowicz, Fuck You Fagger Fucker, opens virtually 1 week from today on March 19th. It's being released by Kino Lorber, and virtual screenings at Film Forum. You can go to filmforum.org to get tickets. No, it's really good.
Hopefully we'll be able to get Chris on the show. I know he's very busy doing interviews and everything like that, but maybe next week we could have him talk about the show a little bit.
That would be fantastic. Let's get him on next week. Blake, what was the question?
So this song just broke a record. It has been in the top 10 steadily for 1 year, 52 weeks. What is the song?
I'm going to say Chumbawamba Tub Thumping, which has made a remarkable comeback, and everybody is singing it again.
Oh, is it?
Is that the one I get knocked down?
I get knocked down, but I get up again because it's
Why
very.
is that back? Why is that back?
It's not.
Isn't it the Old Town Country Road thing?
No, it is actually The Weeknd's Blinding Lights.
You know, I can just The Weeknd.
Hey, shut up! I'm obsessed with The Weeknd. This era of The Weeknd is amazing.
All right, we reached number 4 in our countdown of the things that made us go wow.
Number 4.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about 2 things that are on the Wow Report this week. We have high and we have low. First, the high. Jimmy Fallon has listed his penthouse. It's a 3-floor country house in the sky for $15 million. And have you guys seen the pictures of this?
Girl, do you remember the old Cowgirl Cafe in New York? There were a couple. There was like, do you remember the Cowgirl Cafe? And it was just like you stepped into Houston, 1976. There might have. It looks like there should be a bunking Bronco in Jimmy Fallon's apartment.
I am so into it. I feel like maybe. The first picture I saw was the picture with the blue sectional and the green rug, and it looks super kitschy with wood paneling on the wall. I love that room. It has really cool, like, throwback, kind of 60s psychedelic flowers.
I was going to say, did you spend a lot of time in a friend's basement with a pool table and in the wood paneling and everything back in Arkansas?
We didn't have basements in Arkansas.
They didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, it's a huge house. I love all the rooms. The rooms have super cute wallpaper on them. I mean, it's not everyone's taste, but...
I don't think it's anyone's taste but yours and Jimmy Fallon's, Frank.
How dare you? Okay, well, then let's go to the low. Lady Gaga's apartment that she wrote her debut album in is now up for sale. And have you guys seen... Or not for sale, for rent. She rented it back in the day, I think in 2008, for $1,100 a month. And now it's renting for $2,000. Trey on the Wow Report seemed to think that it was a dump, but I would have totally lived there.
Well, at 2,000 in Manhattan, I mean, that's still pretty, that's pretty cheap. I don't think you can, was it a 1 or 2 bedroom?
It's a 1 bedroom, but I would think for that price, you would get like a studio apartment, right?
I was going to say, I think studios are like $2,400 now, easily.
This is a Lower East Side walk up, 1 bedroom with, a kitchen, a bathroom. The appliances look new. I think she said that she spent many a nights on the floor, and she can't imagine like being on the floor there with all the bed bugs and roaches. But I think she was just being like,
oh, she was being dramatic. Yeah. I do remember my first apartment in New York. It was on the Bowery and 4th, and it was $600 a month, and it was 3 bedrooms, I think. Whoa. And I had 4 roommates, so we all ended up paying like $130 or something a piece. Fenton, do you remember your first apartment in New York and how much it was?
Yeah, it was a loft on Broadway in Soho, which then was like an industrial sweatshop region, and it was, I think it was $500 a month.
Oh my God.
That's so crazy. I did also want to just point out another real estate thing that I was sort of gasping about. The next door neighbors to Harry and Meghan in Montecito back in Santa Barbara here, I think it's Rob Lowe, and he just put his on sale, and it was something for like $24 million, and it had like 18 bathrooms and 7 bedrooms and a library and a bowling alley and a movie theater. It was just one of those houses that's amazing, and I would drop everything and move to Santa Barbara.
Did it have tacky wallpaper and wood paneling?
I don't know. I didn't see the insides, but Fenton, what were you just going to say?
No, I was just going to say Montecito is a little enclave of super duper rich. I mean, Oprah has her home there. Tyler Perry has her home. Her best friend
Gwyneth
Gail has her home.
Paltrow is right down the street from the mall, so it does sort of seem like a cliquey little area.
Yeah, they go and borrow cups of sugar from each other. You know?
Yeah, Ellen famously has a place right there too.
Well, and they got like destroyed by those landslides a couple of years ago.
Well, yeah, but you know, when you got 50 hectares, I mean, like a mudslide isn't. I mean, I will tell you one thing about Oprah's place because I've been there and interviewed the Duchess of York. No, it's so funny. You drive along the street and you get to a little house and you think this doesn't look like much, but you just pull into the driveway of this little house and someone comes out and says hello, and I'm like, is this Oprah's house? And they're like, yeah, you're in the right place. But then it turns out that house on the street, that suburban house, is really just the gatehouse. And you drive through what used to be the yard of this house, and then an enormous Jane Austen-like parkland opens up with fountains and rivers and lakes and a Palladian mansion on top of the hill.
I think you're gonna have to do a whole other segment about how you and Oprah have been hanging out together and all the times you spend with Gail and Stedman, and how Mom, listen, I think this is your did you regale us with stories of you and Oprah?
Actually, I'm not gonna do that. James, what's at number 3?
Number 3.
I have a story to tell you at number 3. My God, it's the TikTok true horror story of the century. I don't know if you guys have been following this. There was a woman in New York, speaking of New York residences and New York apartments, her name was Samantha Harto, and she was in her house, and her house was inexplicably cold. Her apartment was just chilly, and she couldn't figure it out. There seemed to be a breeze coming from somewhere. She narrowed it down to the bathroom. She went in the bathroom, and like her hair was blowing. She was TikToking it. There was actually a breeze coming from her bathroom, and she kept looking and looking, and it was coming from her bathroom cabinet, like the mirror on her cabinet. And she was like, "What the hell is this?" And she has her camera, and she's showing, and she takes the mirror, the bathroom cabinet mirror off the wall, and lo and behold, there's a hole behind the bathroom cabinet. And she puts her flashlight in, and she's like, "Oh my God, there's a whole other room behind the bathroom cabinet." And so it looks like there was somebody in there. Not at the time, but she could see garbage strewn all over. Well, like any good horror film character, she decides to crawl through the hole and go into the room to see what's in there. Well, she goes in and she's TikToking the whole thing, and there's a whole apartment next to hers in which there's somebody, obviously somebody's been there. There's garbage bags. There's like eating food. There's a toilet that's like in the middle of the room that makes no sense. And she's like filming the whole thing. There's a whole downstairs. It's 2 floors, and somebody was in there able to crawl in and out of her apartment.
Somebody was in there? See, I watched the TikToks. Everything in life, when you describe it, is so much better than the reality. It's just like
no, she didn't actually see that there had been evidence of life in the apartment, of somebody who had access to her apartment, who could have been coming in and out whenever they want. It's very much Candyman.
I was gonna say that, yes.
It's
so
the horror film Candyman, in which the killer had access through the bathroom mirror.
This is a true story, though. Do you remember there was a video, like someone kept on noticing in their studio bedroom apartment in Manhattan that their food was being eaten?
Yeah.
And they set up a remote camera, and this person crawls out from the loft space when they're in bed and comes down and eats. It's like a golem. I mean,
would pee in their sink.
We've talked to you about the horror movie that affected me so much when I was growing up. It was a made-for-TV movie called Bad Ronald, in which Bad Ronald lived between the walls in this crawl space, and he would come out every night and watch the girls sleep and eat the food in the refrigerator and then go back between the walls. In my whole life, I've had fear that there's somebody living in the walls of my house, and you just never know what's going on, because there could be anybody anywhere lurking out to get you.
All right, let's move on.
Number 2.
Number 2, the Real World reunion. Speaking of people living between the walls, sort of thing. Paramount Plus launched the other week, and one of the first things they had was they're doing a sort of mini-series special. I think it's 6 episodes, reuniting the original cast of the original 1992 Real World, the MTV, the seminal, pioneering.
It started the whole reality. Basically, you could say they started the reality trend.
You could say that.
And the cast is our old friend Norm Corpy is in it, who's someone we know very well. Who's a big, WoW fan and a WoW friend. Becky, Eric Nyes,
Julie, right. Heather, Kevin, Andre.
That's what really resonated for me. I mean, I watched it. Like, did you watch it?
I did. I watched it last night. I loved it.
But did you watch it at the time? Were you old enough?
Oh yeah, I watched it. I remember like they would show flashbacks in this new series of things that happened, and I would be like, I totally remember that. But if you ask me, I watched it, yes, but I was like 10.
Well, of course, it was filmed in 1992 during the whole Rodney King drama, and one of the kids, Kevin, African-American kid, Kevin Powell, was very vocal on the series about issues of racism in America. And I think it was Julie who was his sort of...
nemesis. I mean, she was his boy.
Yeah, she was a young white dancer from Alabama, and they really got into it. But it's interesting because that episode in particular, I think it was called Julie Thinks Kevin is a Psycho. That was the title of the episode that aired when they really had a huge blowout. And Julie said she felt threatened by Kevin and that he was a sort of angry black man and that he saw racism everywhere. And Kevin was like, very much of the point of view, like, why can't you see what's right in front of you, what's right under your nose?
Well, doesn't that just sound like every conversation that people are having today on Twitter and Facebook?
It does, but I think what has shifted is that whereas then I think Kevin was seen as the outsider with the slightly radical point of view, and that he was kind of cast as the angry black man, I think now people are like, well, hang on a second, yeah, Kevin was right,
But I think we are in a world full of Karens who, argue that point to, vociferously wherever they go, that the white women are the victims and that African Americans are making it all up.
Yeah, I suppose it's true. I suppose in many ways nothing has changed, but you felt that at the time the sensibility, let's say, of the network was not really on Kevin's side; it was more on Julie's side, and right. I think that has shifted.
And it is interesting to see that Norm still retells the story of coming out on live television and the backlash that he got and how it ruined his life for many years, and that. So that narrative hasn't really changed either so much, is that there's it's still, people are still afraid to come out. And
it's interesting to know where it's going to go, or if it's going to go anywhere, because I felt, Blake, what did you think? I just felt the first episode was the most interesting bit, was the flashbacks to the original. And
I do. You mean on this series, like what the rest of the 5 episodes? Yeah. I wonder about that too. It did look, the super tease did look kind of fun at the end, coming up on this season. But I'm more excited to see if it's a hit, if they'll do season 2 and then season 3, because I would love to see season 2 again, Venice.
I would be interested in San Francisco, where Puck is, and how the Pedro Zamora revisiting all of that. And also, if you remember the Seattle season, was the one where
season 7?
Is that the one where she punched him or he slapped her or something? Yeah. I mean, it will be interesting to see if they manage to reunite all the different casts.
Yeah.
Well, you can watch The Real World on Paramount Plus. All right, next week, it's the series finale of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 2. So you should watch it on Wow Presents Plus. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll reveal the number one thing this week that made us go, wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
All right, welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with James, St. James, and Blake, and we've been counting down the top 10 things this week that made us go, wow. Yeah, we've reached number 1, the big reveal.
What is number 1, Blake?
I know, I'm always like, what is number 1?
Number 1.
Number 1 is cancel culture.
Oh, well, it's been an interesting week for cancel culture because I don't know if you, of course you did. You noticed that, well, it was last week, I believe, that Dr. Seuss, there was the big hoo-ha, the brouhaha, where people noticed after 50 years of being in print, suddenly a Republican noticed that there was some racist imagery in a couple of Dr. Seuss books, 7 of them to be precise. And 6 of them?
6.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't believe you. I think it's 7. I think I found another one. I believe I found another one. There were some books that had racist imagery of some Asians that were portrayed in a way. This is like he wrote them in the 1940s and 50s. There was I don't even want to go into what it is, but with the black people as well, there was some African imagery that people felt was outdated, and so Dr. Seuss, the Dr. Seuss company. The estate immediately took them out of print, and that should have been the end of it because they did what was right. But if you watched Fox News, by God, you would have thought the earth was falling apart. These 50-year-old, these 60, 70-year-old books were just going to be the downfall of civilization, and everybody just went on and on and on.
James, how would you feel though if all of a sudden you had 6 less books on your reading level?
Well, I don't think that Dr. Seuss estate is going to be in need of money because they took what I saw on Mulberry Street off. I mean, it wasn't Hop on Pop. It wasn't Green Eggs and Ham. It wasn't one of their big sellers. He has hundreds of books, and these were 6 that were taken out of circulation.
Well,
I don't understand what.
The week before that, it was the Mr. Potato Head thing.
Well, it was Mr. Potato Head. And then also this week, there's been a lot of controversy because Pepe Le Pew is taken out of the Space Jam movie. And Pepe Le Pew is somebody who is probably, nobody watches Pepe Le Pew anymore. Nobody watches Popeye. Nobody watches Woody Woodpecker. Why are people getting upset about Pepe Le Pew and Speedy Gonzales?
Because they think it's all the Democrats' fault whenever they're the ones that basically invented cancel culture.
Well, Democrats don't cancel the way that Republicans do.
Exactly, right.
Trump is the one who was like, you can't eat these beans. You can't watch Trump is the one who started cancel culture as far as I'm concerned. But Pepe Le Pew, obviously, don't put him in the movie. He's a very sort of rapey trope. He's always, after the cat with the stripe down her back, and she says no, and he doesn't take no for an answer. Speedy Gonzales has been canceled for, as far as I know, for over 10 years now. People have realized that was a racist Mexican trope of, his friends were all the lazy guys who sat around and they were drunk all the time. And so, yes, get rid of them. Toss them aside. We don't need that. But to hear the Republicans go on and on and on about it, it's just
like they even care.
Like they don't. And then one of the Republican senators went on the Senate floor and read Green Eggs and Ham in protest. Did you see that? And it's like, really? We've come to that where Republicans are reading Dr. Seuss to just filibuster and waste our time over a non-issue.
It's sort of infantilizing.
It is. It's maddening. So, cancel.
Meanwhile, a list of things that Christians a list of things that they've canceled. The Dixie Chicks.
Yes.
Monster Soda.
Yes.
Nike.
Remember they would buy the Nike shoes and then burn them, giving Nike the money. Nike already got, and that makes no sense whatsoever. God, just the ridiculousness of these people. Just
totally.
That's all we got time for. Thanks for tuning into the Wow Report. Thank you, James. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Randy. You can listen to previous episodes on our YouTube channel, Wow Presents. And see you same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.